So, after having gotten inspired by a couple of YouTube videos that popped up in my feed about terrifying science fiction concepts that are existential and worrying, it was like, considering what I live in my life, on a daily basis and what I believe in, I don't know, they don't seem that terrible. They seem kind of shitty, but like, nothing that crazy. Anyways, I was like, okay, so there's a lot of stuff here, but I wanna get you into the idea of what is physics going to allow for really. There's the vast majority of evolutionary horror is typically a evolution that necessitates something that you currently right now would not enjoy, and that's all the story really is about. You wouldn't really understand that you can be made to enjoy everything that is, evolutionarily speaking, and psychologically. Isn't that a little bit more terrifying, but is it also not? You see the existential philosophical debate here? If you are made, like they do with your government and your mainstream media and your online influencers and entertainment in general and how you're taught in public schools and everything else, both sides, doesn't really matter. The philosophy that this is what you like, this is what you should think, this is what you should feel, and you push yourself into believing, thinking, and acting like this, liking that, being groomed, as they say so terribly, into those things, heading towards these ideas, actions, jobs, directions in life that fulfill a design of society's needs. You are a collective for society. That is not terrifying. You all, generally speaking, accept this. But the moment it's against what it is the current happens to believe in or allows for, it is terrifying, is it not? Uncomfortable in many ways. And of course, you want to resist this. But when you think about it, any of those horrible, horrible, terrifying, so scary stories essentially take what it is that you are already going through and simply put a twist on it and show it to you. And it gets you dangerously, uncomfortably close to learning the truth about you yourself accepting that this is going on. That is all they really reasonably do and show. There isn't much of a difference there, and I know people might debate me on that, but I don't really matter, is what you'll say, as you skip off the topic and try and head towards something else. But to me, it means I don't care. I don't care that that's going on. It's acceptable, it's accepted, and it doesn't mean anything that it's going on. And for me, again, it goes to I don't have to care that you don't care. I don't have to care that you don't mind. I don't have to care that you accept it. In fact, most of the stories go to someone taking control over that and deciding for you. That's the horror part, it would appear, for the vast majority of you. Something else, regardless of their choices, malevolent to you, just and benevolent to them, is taking control and you're just a passenger. But is that not just the universe and its whims of physics and what the control of your program's so-called free will allows for you to ultimately, chaotically, seemingly, quotation marks in that one, introduce for all of your interactions throughout your day-to-day business? It's a very existential, dreading thought that it's all very determined, and truthfully, what was going to happen gives you dread. It was always going to happen anyways. The determinism, the hyper-determinism that can cause so much pain and anguish because you are your free will program that is making these choices but has clearly these weighted neural networks that will definitely help you and have you pursue in an incredibly high degree of percentage to do these things. Think this way, act that way, believe this stuff. And it's all that little meat sack inside of you is at all times doing. The little zappy fluid and fat connected in a numerous amount of ways. And that's what gives you your observation of self, self-awareness, a sentience of choice based upon feelings, sensors that feed you the information, all of which can be altered and changed if someone had enough information or technology and control. And you really wouldn't ever know, would you? Even itself can do it to itself as it's posited. But the answer is, of course, what do you mean? You have no idea. You struggle and fight every day to say for sure that you are. But then the concept of God arouses suspicion of more. A separate, outside, further, a distance, to placate and survive this continuation of addiction towards experience. Not a bad one. But that's what it is. So, is it horror? Or is it merely amusing that you find it horrifying because you simply never learned that that's what's going on? And you never really think about it because you're always go, 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 go. And then there are those like myself that have thought about it and don't really get too fussed, truthfully. It's not that big of a deal. Does, it doesn't, it is, it isn't. I posit this idea, physics says it wouldn't, and then there's the idea of a wormhole computer, which literally necessitates that the physics would make this occur. It definitely would seem to appear to have superposition that heads off to another thing, that it has these interactive profiles and interfering profiles and these algorithmic designs for the very constituent makeup parts of us that clump together and have rules that state that they will act and do these things. Much to the chagrin of the physicists, that means they're very, very determined. If you only knew all the rules, then your program of free will says I could control much more, do many more things, but eventually the direction is based upon the program that makes you enjoy what you want and like. There isn't much change or difference there. Realistically, that's what you'll always head towards, just enough joy with enough struggle and strife, I guess. Or maybe you'll eventually remove that, because then you could eventually get to the point where you could see very, very, very far forward. Infinitely. It might as well be, right? Do you go with the you now? Or do you make sure that you alter it over time? Because you will change through the experiences, but you would know that. You see, that's the part that many don't understand. You would know that you're changing exactly like this. That information comes in. If you can see that, you can feel yourself this way, that way, change to this, that, and everything else. There is no way out of that. You will know in every way what will be, what can be, and what won't be. And you have to set it up so you are happy for the amount of time that you allow for yourselves to go for. Does determining and knowing make it sad, or does it make it exciting? What is your personality? how is it that you really want things? Do you really think you know? Do you really know? Does it matter? Or you give it a shot anyways? It's an existential dread, right? How can I know? You'll know everything. Well, I don't know that now. Yes, but you definitely know you will. There's no getting around it. That is the issue. You know what I mean? I can make it as happy as I want for myself. But what helps others? And so, ultimately, is that evil? Well, in the perspective of something that it's going on to that doesn't want that, well, it wouldn't matter anyways. You're changed to something that definitely does want that. So, what would be the problem? Give me a second. I have to text someone. Alright, where was I? So, thinking about the idea of a story here, what is it that you really end up believing about the world around you is what necessitates it being horrible. So, of course, or horror and terrifying in general, okay? And that's the basics. So, the idea that they need to sell this, of course, has to come in. And the audience needs to know roughly this amount that you know, that they'll roughly know. And then you need to explain it roughly like this so that way they can understand the basics and what's going on. Then you have a character that has flaws, and the flaws seem great but are actually not very flawed, typically, because it's understandable for them to be this way. All stories do this. You have a rising amount of conflict and then never-ending amounts of resolution that seemingly never actually are positive, and it just destroys your hope. This is what the horror genre is about. Then you cut it off almost immediately and you leave it alone. That's all horror genre stories in a nutshell. There's almost always a discovery of some type, a big MacGuffin that seemingly might be something, but actually was all just a trap planted by the evil mastermind planning to change it all. The horror genre. No, no, I shall sink further and further and deeper, and I can't get out as I continue to try and believe I can. Because that's what you should do. That's what you've been led to believe. Not to give in and try and change the idea of this being negative into a positive. Certainly not try and go with it and change it towards something you want or like anyways. And certainly nothing else like this. And instead it trains your brain into believing that there is no hope, and so it gives you horror and terror. Terror indeed. That kind of thing.